Hi, everyone. My name is Julie Stigmeyer, and I work with the GSCP in writing support. Today, I just want to do a quick video on thinking about literature reviews from a big picture. I work with a lot of students who are writing their literature reviews, and they haven't had experience working with this type of assignment. So I wanted to just give you really broad strokes to understand what the assignment is asking you to do, which I think will help you to think through the organization of your piece before you start writing. It will save you a lot of time at the end, so you're not revising as much. You'll have a lot clearer structure for your piece, and your reader will be able to follow along to see what the literature review is about. So the key here is to think back when you were in 4th grade and you had to write a book report. A literature review is essentially a report on what you're finding in the research. So think of it very simply in that way. When you were in 4th grade and you wrote a book report, you shared the main ideas, you gave the big picture of the story, the characters, and you added a little bit of analysis. Maybe you had to add your opinion about the story or tell, what you thought may have been better, something like that. So essentially, that's what you're doing, but at a much higher level. Okay, so you're looking at very specific scientific data on a particular topic, and you're looking at how all these researchers have presented that information. And now you are telling the story, you're giving the report on your findings. The reason why this big picture approach is so important is so you don't get lost in each study. You don't need to usually say anything about like the number of participants. You do not need to quote from each study. You sometimes don't even need to give the details of how the study was conducted. You're really just focusing on the findings. What did the studies find that relate to your topic? So for example, here's a really big picture topic, okay? So this would essentially be a literature review. All you'd have to do is write it, okay? But all the hard work has been done because you have a very solid outline. So what is the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic and its restrictions on US adolescents? So you can name your population group, narrow it to whatever aspect of COVID, whatever. This is just a big picture topic to show you a sample. So the first big section of the paper would be, well, we saw increased anxiety and are still seeing increased anxiety. Okay, what does that mean? Citation, citation, citation. So what did the studies say about increased anxiety among this population? The second big piece would be, it doesn't have to be causes, but in this case, maybe we break down the causes. Stress with lots of citations. You don't quote, you just paraphrase. How did all of these authors come together to what is the commonality between these researchers that show that stress is a cause, or isolation in your next little section, or emotional dysregulation? So in each case, you're paraphrasing and synthesizing to show here are these 3 big causes, and this is what led to this increased anxiety in this time for this population. So you're always referring back to all those keywords and showing all the links between these ideas. The very last piece of your lit review is a discussion. It's not very long usually. This is the main heart of your paper, whatever, probably 2/3 or 3/4 of your paper. Discussion is maybe a page or something like that. And that is the need for future research. So you've looked at what everyone else has said about this topic. And now here are the directions, the implications for future research. There are all these gaps. There are these missing pieces. Maybe we need to focus on one particular population. Maybe we need to look worldwide. Whatever the dynamic is or the angle is that you find in your research, that's what you're going to add in your discussion. So I wanted to just give you a couple more quick ideas to finish this video. And then there are longer videos in my series where you can look at everything. So this is the purpose: to inform the reader about current literature on a topic and to point out those limitations. So think about that example I gave and how that fits. The challenge of this is you're looking at tons of different, very specific research studies, and you have to add that order to the research. So using those themes and thinking about it big picture, stepping away from what you're reading and not getting too deep into the weeds of each individual study. You're looking at their findings and pretend like you're explaining the findings to, you know, a niece or a, you know, teenager or something. How could you say that in a simple way? So for example, this is another example of gratitude interventions. So if you were looking at all these little bullet points that are about recent studies that show benefits of gratitude interventions, this is all very unorganized. If I were to read a lit review like this, where this would be a paragraph about gratitude increasing life satisfaction. This would be another paragraph, subjective well-being. This one would be frequency and expressions of gratitude. This is related to social relationships, strengthening. So if each one of these is a separate paragraph, you make it very hard on your reader. You're not doing the legwork you need as the writer to piece this together into big themes. You're just kind of reporting, oh, here's what this study said, this study, this study. That's not the way to write a literature review. Instead, you go through all those studies. You can use color coding or something like that to find those big picture ideas and then turn them into these themes. So gratitude interventions improve life satisfaction. And then here are all the studies that support that. Gratitude interventions strengthen relationships. Here's citation, citation, citation. Gratitude interventions decrease depressive symptoms. And here are your citations. So if you think about literature reviews in that way, it'll really help you to piece your material together. The last thing I want to show you, you can think about it in terms of a mind map, tables, but I just want to move forward to talk a little bit about an overview statement. This is a single sentence that obviously and clearly tells your reader what your strategy is for the rest of your paper. It's a single sentence. It sometimes has to be two, but usually a single sentence that gives that layout of what's coming. So with the gratitude intervention example, it might be something like this. The effects of gratitude interventions include improved life satisfaction, strengthened social relationships, and decreased depressive symptoms. So then I would expect the three big sections of the paper to follow this pattern: improve life satisfaction, strengthen social relationships, decrease depressive symptoms. For the COVID example, it would be something like the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic on US adolescents include anxiety, increased anxiety, which had multiple causes, including isolation, emotional dysregulation, and stress, you know, whatever it would be. So you're putting all the ideas together into a single sentence. So if your reader only read this sentence out of your paper, it would be as if they understood exactly your whole idea. The last thing I want to leave you with is this idea. As you're writing your paper, you're going to not only present that really clear overview statement in your intro, but think of each sentence opening each paragraph in your paper as like a mini part of your outline. So for example, if I go back to this, the newer example about COVID, I would have as paragraph that begins talking about increased anxiety. I'd probably have 2 or 3 paragraphs here. So I might have some, other details. But let's say I have 1 to 2 paragraphs. If I have a main idea that shows my keywords, effect of COVID-19, US adolescents, and in this case, increased anxiety, that's going to be my main idea. That's the key to understanding that whole section. The next little piece of my outline would be stress is a major cause of anxiety, increased anxiety due to COVID-19 on US adolescents. So I'm always remembering to tie back to those keywords. So each of these new paragraphs, isolation was a major cause of increased anxiety during COVID-19 on US adolescents. So I've got like this shorthand, right? So if you read each first sentence of those paragraphs, you should be able to get the whole idea of your paper. So those are the tips I wanted to leave you with today, just as like a quick shorthand, how to think about and how to organize the literature review. So hopefully that'll help you get started if you haven't written one of these in the past. So please get in touch with Writing Support for more information and feedback. And happy writing.